absolutely given the full court press in this matrix, this prison that we didn't know we were in. That's why we were given these religions. That's why we were giving all these limitations. That's why they messed with the DNA to give us a shorter lifespan, so we would have to go over and over and over again and never actually have time to figure it out, because we would die off before we could figure it out. And then you poison the food chain. Then you poison the air, the water supply. All of this was a program to trap us. And now we have a reset coming. Sometime between now and 2030, we have a reset that's coming, which is freaking everybody out. And there's no way they can stop it. They're trying. They've been doing everything frantically, but the universe is doing a reset. And this is why it's so important that we catch up. This is why it's so important that we understand disclosure, that we've never been alone, that humanity, the heart of humanity, belongs to a much larger family that isn't just human, but it's life itself. All life itself. We're part of this creation of all that is. And on a soul level, we've all come from source. We didn't come from extraterrestrial races. We were source first. And then the space was created by source. The physicality was created by source and groups that work directly for source. And then the souls came in to manifest and to create. I once asked Visayas about, and this was in the 90s, 80s or 90s, about dark energy. And his response was, well, that's just areas of the universe that haven't been magnetized by thought. So it's all thought. It's all consciousness, That's all it ever is. It's just all a holograph. But what makes it real is our belief in it and the energy that we put into it. That's what makes it so solid. And that's why we've had the full court press here on the planet to convince us of our limitations, which aren't real at all. None of them are real, but they had to convince us that we were limited, and then they had to disempower us, because if we rebelled, we'd change everything, which is what we're in the process of doing now, is rebelling against this dark authority, this regressive authority, this structure, this matrix structure that they had us in. And we're not the only ones. Other star nations have been freed from this same matrix. But somehow we ended up being the caboose here. The last car, the last planet. What we do individually, and then what we do together as a collective group of soul groups here, changes everything. And it's just what it is. This is the role we have. This is the role we're in. And whether anyone's in denial about it or not simply doesn't matter. You're going to evolve, or you're going to start over somewhere else. Because the reset's coming, and what that looks like is anybody's guess. But the thing about change is that you either embrace it, and in embracing it, you trust and you become vulnerable to go where the currency takes you, the current of frequency takes you, or you oppose it and the change happens without you. Now, we have been conditioned to be afraid of change. Again, that's a program that was done to trap us, to keep us stuck. Danny, I don't know where you want to go with this now. I have no idea.
I didn't want to interrupt, of course, and just let you go because, as you say, you've been holding all of this in for so many years, and you're so beloved, and there are so many that come to you for your knowledge, and so I am just in awe that you can speak to the things you speak to, that you explain it so beautifully. It's easy to understand from your perspective the way that you've laid it out, but understandably you've been holding it for so long. I think
you
that,
know that
yeah.
you know that in war that wherever there's been war, there have been sightings, and you also know that that soldiers and casualties, some dead, some barely alive, those bodies were taken, okay, by not us. In Vietnam, there were things living in those jungles that were not us. They were not us. And the locals would tell our military, don't go in there. But of course, if we were given orders, we had to go into some of these areas. And things happened. Things happened that to our military, MIA, there's a lot more to that. And the military has not been forthcoming with those things that have happened in war. In the Pacific, there were other things as well that were going on there by things living in those jungles that were not us. They were not the Japanese. Parts of Europe, there were things in the Black Forest and other areas that were not us, that would come up from underground. They would take the bodies and they would be gone. So, you know, we so we so need we so need to be told the truth. And I believe that, well, the Q post says that not everyone could be told the truth because 99% of the world's population would have to be hospitalized.
Mm.
I think that's probably true. At least at that point, it was true. Um, I would hope that at least 10% of us could handle the truth.
Mm.
Um,
I think it's higher now. I do. I
I
remember,
would hope so.
yeah, I remember years ago when I heard pretty much a lot of what you're saying. I literally was in bed for 3 days. I couldn't move. I couldn't function. I've been through my own trauma, as many humans have, and also as a therapist and work with trauma people, trauma patients. But even with all that training, I couldn't cope with. And then I realized, well, I have to get up. We have a job to do. We have a mission. And I feel like even since then, for me, that most thinking humans who are starting to question have been exposed to some kind of documentary or a rumor, or TikTok has gone mad with, conspiracy. I mean, whatever it's called. But there's drip, drip, drop, drop, drip, drip, drop, drop coming in all the time into our consciousness. So I think that the humans have been really primed for the horrors that you're speaking to on a much, much broader level. And the fact is they need to and have needed to. We do need to make the point. The reptilians, the cicad draconians, you need to give us the names, please, and advise humanity that these regressives are no longer here doing that in the way that they were. We don't want to put people into more fear by you sharing this. This is what was happening. So I'll just turn over to you for you to share what
Okay.
feels right.
Well, that's why I said intervention had to happen. Yeah. Well, the CCAR, other reptilian underling groups that they had working for them. You had the Tao. You also had some human groups or half human groups, half human